All right, good morning and hello from sunny Colorado. Hope you guys are awesome. I'm really excited today to talk about a brand new marketing program called the Baby Boomer Dilemma. This is a marketing system unlike anything you've seen before that is somewhere between a hybrid of a lead generation campaign and seminars that we're seeing outstanding success with. You've probably seen through the invitations you've received that we have some really special guests on here, including Doug Orchard, the creator of the film, and also Andrew Winnett, an advisor in Nashville who's done a lot of these campaigns. And I think it's a really cool experience to have all of us together here on this webinar today. It's one thing to hear a marketing guy tell stories, give you numbers, and marketers are inherent for expanding the results or talking about them a little bit more hyperbolically. It's different when you talk to people who are actually implementing the system. So I think it's a cool experience to be able to hear, not only what I have to share about marketing these unique events, but also hearing from Doug, his experience creating the film, and also Andrew using it in the production. So before we get too far in here, I want to make sure that we have all systems go. If somebody doesn't mind just putting in the chat, just tell us that you can hear us and see us okay. David, how's it going down in Texas? Hope you're doing well. Sounds like audio's working for you. So that's great. Sherry says you can hear as well. Thanks so much for joining us. Carl, Chris, Priscilla. Okay, looks like our audio and video is working well. Doug, James, okay, everyone's on here. Before we get going, I am going to ask a couple questions just to kind of hear. What I'd like to hear is just kind of what your exposure is to the movie. So if you look off to the right-hand side, I guess for you it's this side. Look off to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a couple polls on there. And the first question I've got on here is just, have you ever heard about the baby boomer dilemma before this webinar? You got three choices on there. One is, yes, I've done this and I've actually hosted events before. Two is, yes, but I've never actually hosted one. And then three is, no, I've never heard about this. The first I've ever heard about it. I love getting this feedback early on in a presentation because it helps me understand where you're at and then make sure that I can make sure I deliver a powerful message that's kind of tailored to what it is that we're talking about here. So I'll let that kind of keep clicking through here a little bit. Please respond to that poll. I'd love to see your feedback on there. But I'd like to just, while that's happening, give a little bit of introduction for what's going to happen today. So just a little quick overview of where we're headed. Along with us today, like I mentioned, Doug Orchard is the filmmaker. He's the handsome guy in the right in the blue shirt. Actually, everyone's got blue shirts on today. I'm going to be more specific. Doug, give us a wave from Florida down there. Thanks so much for joining us. So Doug is on here. Also, Andrew down in Nashville. Andrew, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. The way the webinar will work today is I'll give a little bit of introduction, just how we came to the point where we're at right now, a little bit of context for the conversation. Then I'd love for this to be more of a conversation than anything. I want to talk to Doug specifically about the genesis of the movie, the vision behind it, the application he's seen people do, and the success stories that he's seen through the movie. Then we'll kind of transition into advised results, hearing experience from Andrew and his actual implementation of doing a bunch of these events down in Nashville and the production results he's seen from it. And then finally, what I'll do at the end is kind of put a bow on it, talk about the services and how Steep can help you actually promote these events. One thing to have an awesome movie and a cool message to share, but it's another thing to have a whole room full of people to share that message with. So I'll kind of close it out talking through that. So just checking in on the poll here, it looks like no one on this webinar has hosted an event before. So Andrew, you're the one and only. We've had 22% of people have heard about it, but have never hosted one. And then 80% of people have never heard about Baby Boomer Dilemma before. So this is cool. I love this. This is a new thing for everybody. I think this will be an awesome experience. So if you're not, if you haven't worked with Steep before, I see a lot of names in our list that I recognize, a lot of names I don't recognize. So I thought it'd be worthwhile just to pause for a minute and explain who we are at Steep and help you understand how we can help you market your business. Steep was founded, I founded Steep. I'm the CEO and founder of Steep. Started the business in 2017. I have a long record before that, about 15 years working in the FMO space, helping advisors with product knowledge and recruiting, helping them coach through the sales process with a specific emphasis on marketing. I started doing Facebook ads in 2015 as a part of a lead generation strategy for advisors and have grown that to where we are at with Steep right now. One of the things that's unique about Steep is that we are specific in the financial services space. We don't work with HVAC guys and roofers. Sometimes you'll talk to a marketing company that sounds snazzy and has a lot of experience, and you pay them for 3 or 4 months just to figure out, help, train them how your business works. And that can be a counterproductive process. So I think the fact that we work with the financial space exclusively means that when we deploy a campaign for an advisor, we're not doing that hoping that it's going to work. We're doing that with the experience of having literally spent tens of millions of dollars on advertising specifically for people just like you. See all the colorful logos at the bottom. We have a bunch of really smart nerds in our office that specialize in automation programs, traffic. We're Facebook certified marketing partners, listed 2 years in a row at Colorado companies to watch. So we've been very blessed to grow and have success in this space, and I've really had the privilege to serve a lot of different advisors. So, movie events is a brand new thing for most of us. According to the poll, 71% of us have never heard about the Baby Boomer Dilemma movie before. And so, I'll share a little bit about just kind of the concept behind the marketing program right now. While I do this, I'm actually going to put another poll up on the side here. This is another question: is, are you interested in alternatives to seminars and webinars? As the marketplace constantly changes, we've dealt with coronavirus and event shutdowns and, fear factors with the market conditions, all of these different things. I think advisors, I'm interested to hear, where are you at from a mindset standpoint? Do you want to continue doing seminars and webinars you've been doing? Are you trying to diversify your marketing outside of that? Or, you're kind of sticking with the tried and proven system. So your three choices here is: yes, I want a new marketing opportunity. 2 is, I'm kind of interested, but I just want to check it out. And then 3 is, no, I like what I'm doing. I want to, and I don't want to host movies. So if you don't want to host movies, click the third option there, and then you can take an early lunch break. But I'd love to hear about kind of where you're at from a mindset standpoint while we get started here. So as the poll comes in, just a little overview of the Baby Boomer Dilemma. The Baby Boomer Dilemma is a movie that Doug has created. It's an actual MPA rated film. This is not a guy with a laptop that created a movie and just put it out there. This is an actual movie. It's on IMDb. It's got a Forbes review. There's hundreds of agents across the country using this as a marketing system right now. But essentially, the way that this works from a format standpoint is that we will invite people to come to a private showing of the Baby Boomer Dilemma at a theater near you. We'll talk more in this webinar about which theaters you can use, but almost any theater will allow you to use their theater for private showing. And then Doug has a really seamless process to get the actual licensed copy of that provided to the movie theater. So it's really simple as just securing a movie theater venue. I don't know that I've talked to a single agent who's reached out to a theater that wasn't able to host an event there. So nearly any movie theater near you, you secure a spot. Then you tag Steve to come in and help fill up that theater. What we'll use is our digital marketing system to get people signed up for that event. We'll also have confirmations and those sort of things to help people sign up. At the actual event, you'll greet people. You'll give them their brochure or whatever it is collateral-wise that you're going to hand them. Andrew can talk a little bit more about kind of the semantics of putting that together. And then you'll go into the movie theater for about 5 to 10 minutes before the movie. You'll give an introduction about your business, about the film. You'll sit down together, watch the movie. If you choose, you could provide snacks and drinks to people to kind of enjoy during the movie. And at the end of the film, you'll have the opportunity for about 15 minutes to do a call to action that's not unlike what you might do at a normal seminar. Tell people, hey, you've learned a lot about the movie during this, a lot about the financial landscape that we're in, and about some of the opportunities out there. And that's what we do as a firm, and specialize helping people with that. And then have a normal seminar call to action. Of course, we'll talk more about that here in just a little bit, but just to kind of give some context for what this movie event's going to look like. You can host a small event with 25 people, or, we'll talk a little about some of the numbers Andrew's got right now, literally having hundreds of people signed up for events. So a lot of different ways that this can work for you. I do want to give you an option here at the beginning if you're interested in learning more. There's some tools that'll be helpful for you as you prepare for a movie event. And I need to click a button over here, 2 seconds. If you look over on the right-hand side, you'll see an option to click and download this guide. Essentially, what you're going to get is you'll just sign up with your name and email address. There's no obligation. You're not committing to buy a movie. You're not, going to get hassled on the phone or any of that. What we want to do is provide the tools that you need to start understanding exactly how this works. And so when you click this, you'll actually receive 4 things. First of all, you'll get the complete guide to movie marketing. This is a page that's probably 6 screens long on your computer that answers every question that you could possibly want to know about movie theaters: how much they cost, where you can host them out, how you should do your call to action, how confirmation process works. Really an A to Z guide on everything you need to know about marketing. The other thing I've got on there is a confirmation training video, and this is actually the product of having worked directly with Andrew's office, talking to his staff on how they're getting people through the confirmation process to actually show to the movie. So there's about a 10-minute training video on that. We'll also have a discount code on there where you can watch the movie on your own. This is not on Netflix. It's not streaming. It's not on YouTube. The only way you can watch this is to actually pay to watch it through the Real House thing that Doug has set up. So Doug's been very gracious and has actually provided a discount code to everyone on here. So if you sign up, go to this page, you'll get a discount code where you can get an individual license to watch this for $10 instead of $30. That's not the same license that you'll use to show the film. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit, but it'll allow you in this discovery process to watch the movie and understand that here at the beginning. And then the other thing that we're doing as a special for today's webinar is because you're on here, because you've chosen to spend your time with us, we're actually going to be giving a private movie license to somebody on this webinar. So if you fill that stuff out, download those things, you'll be able to get it entered for that private license as well. So I want to transition here and start talking to the guys who actually know something about this. And Doug, we're super happy to have you on here. Let me give you, in my estimation, what the kind of framework for the baby boomer dilemma is. And then I'd love for you to kind of share with us kind of your genesis story, how you got into this, your vision behind it. I think if I had to break the movie down into 3 chunks, what you're really going to learn is Doug does a great job of interviewing some of the top minds in the financial world, people who are Nobel Prize winners, people who are PhD at universities, and diving into 2 really specific issues that are the baby boomer dilemma. First of all, pensions, one of the bedrocks of retirement income, have for the most part gone away. The ones that exist are massively underfunded and have all sorts of issues. The other bedrock of retirement income is Social Security. And we actually talked to some of the Social Security trustees learning about the inherent problems with Social Security. To understand that 2 of the things that people have traditionally relied on for lifetime income are now at risk. And that puts us in the baby boomer dilemma. The third part of the film starts to transition a little bit more into where we're used to spending our time. We talk to industry professionals like Tom Hegna, Cheryl Moore, an actual state insurance commissioner from the state of New York, learning about how annuities can provide an alternative for lifetime income in lieu of some of the things that people have relied on in the past. And it actually sets up an excellent conversation for people to use for the income planning and annuity conversation. So Doug, did I do a good job of kind of explaining the context for the movie, or how much did I butcher your vision there?
Right. No, that's fine. Other than we do have a section on 401ks. We have Ted Bennett, the father of 401k as well in that too, which certainly has to be there.
Excellent. So that gives kind of a good context. But Doug, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go full screen here and kind of more of an interview format. But I'd love to just kind of hear your genesis story of, what was the impetus for creating this film and how was it that this came to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, in one way, we probably want to go all the way back to the year 2000, and I was the streaming media company at the time. I had a company that was out of Boulder, Colorado. We were being profiled by Cisco as the storage and streaming provider. This is pre-YouTube, pre-Vimeo, before all of that, when everything was a little postage stamp on video on the internet. We were doing full screen Top Gun at Comdex, and VC funded, 6 months away from the point of profitability, but there was no US president for like 3 weeks. A lot of you guys are old, so you're old enough to remember that. And it was a Gore, it was a Bush, what was going on. Of course, it's Miami-Dade County that they don't have their act together. They still don't. If you try flying through Miami, it's a mess down there. So I was worth $28 million, my stock in the company. And plus I had this awesome run up in the 90s in tech. And most of my money, it was all at risk, 100%, because everyone said, hey, when you're young, you got time to make up for it if you have a loss. Never made that up. I don't have $28 million sitting in my stock account right now, guys. That's bad advice no matter what you do, right? That's just always bad advice. And nobody really did a risk assessment for me. And what would have been wrong to carve out 2 or 3 million that I had somewhere instead of watching it all go away? 90% of all my money in the NASDAQ went poof. 100% of my personal stock went away. But I did get into video and learn the space. And so my wife and I had a conversation. I remember it well. Aren't we glad we're not retiring right now? We're just turning 30, where I was on paper worth $1 million and then found myself just. So I did a lot of corporate video stuff and recruiting in the early 10th, and you know, people you've heard of, Don Blanton, Circle Wealth, and Nelson Nash, Infinite Banking Concept. A lot of those people were my clients. I was doing a lot there. And the last guy that I did something with in 2008, his name was David McKnight. I did his marketing video, kind of propelled him. He said that kind of what really launched him. Eventually, he writes a book. And then I stopped doing that. And I went on and I started doing documentary films. Truth About Pandemic Flu, 2009. Whole nother story. But I got in that space and loved it. Um, and when you start getting into the world of exposés, you know, you become politically neutral, you see the world a little differently. But I always had this chip on my shoulder because of what had happened to me. Okay. That was a real experience. People say, oh, you're young, you can make up for it. You know, you're never making up for it. You have this advantage when you're a 25-year-old whiz kid. I was smarter. My clients were Microsoft, Apple, Sun, Lockheed Martin Missile Space. I was going to them, showing them how to use, like, I invented internet marketing, email, a lot of it. I mean, people are not going to believe this, but you can Google me. The advanced internet recruiting strategy seminar. So I did all that. Well, after doing all these documentaries, and I've been in that space for about a decade, David McKnight called me and said, hey, would you be willing to do a documentary on, he tried to describe it like he's independent. I knew what he was talking. He just wanted me to do a documentary on your book. I go, look, I could do on the first chapter just on the national debt. We could do that. And so he made that film. That went great. It was playing in theaters. It was the first time we really had agents play an MPA rated film. We were just getting started. And then, of course, COVID hits, right? But I was speaking at an event about an expose that I had done some research on, or it came out during the interim since then, and in medicine, and about Medicaid and Medicare. And we don't have time to get into that, but it's a mess, is the answer. And what I was covering, none of you have ever heard of. I mean, you haven't. You haven't. 30%, 50% of everybody who dies from chemotherapy in America either don't have cancer or were getting treated with a medication, a chemo, that never would have helped their cancer. 60% of all back surgeries never should happen, never. And so the hospitals, like there's this whole thing, and corporations, the corporations like Walmart figured this out. And so did Medicare, but Medicare couldn't do anything about it because they were going to sanction a hospital, and the congressman showed up. I heard you're going to sanction my hospital. I'm just going to say I've linked up with these other congressmen, and you're not going to get your next round of funding, Medicare, if our hospital gets sanctioned. So it's suppressed, and it's that way till this day. So I was going to blow the lid off that. So I share that with a bunch of financial advisors in a room. Tom Hegna's there. He spoke. Scott Bushke for the next film, he was there, and we talked after. And Tom Hegna comes to me and says, Doug, you need to make another movie. This one needs to be about retirement income. I go, I already made a film about that. Power Zero. He goes, no, that's about taxes and retirement. You need to make one just on the income. He starts explaining everything to me. And so that's about 4 years in the making. It was really quite a process. And they all liked annuities. And I secretly kind of hated those because I had only heard about variable annuities and, you know, and all that went there. So I get in my movie, this movie, the reason why variable annuities are horrible, yeah, is in everyone's mindset is because of this attorney who's a whistleblower, is the number one whistleblower in America. And he's in the film. He wrote the Forbes article, the positive Forbes article about this movie. He wrote it. He wants to buy several annuities now. That's totally true. Told me. You don't call him because you don't want this guy as your client. I'm promising you that. Feel bad for whoever ends up with that guy. But it's interesting because this movie, because you had a guy, me, who really didn't think anything positive about annuities, who looked at the retirement dilemma, which we kind of renamed the baby boomer dilemma just for the purpose of the film, but it's the retirement dilemma. You know, where do you put your money with what's going on right now with inflation, which we saw that coming. And we have the world's expert on inflation. That was David Babel. And I know something about inflation. My son just wrote a dissertation on it. He just got a job and he starts in 6 days working for the Fed. He's part of the very, very tiny group on inflation for the Federal Reserve Board. And I can never represent that I know anything from him because he can't tell me anything. So I'm never supposed to do that. So I just want to give that disclosure. My great information source probably ends now. But he was very helpful leading up to this. So what do you do? And so we wanted to make a film that looked at this in the eyes of the consumer because they have a tough decision, really tough. You got inflation coming at you. I mean, all the things, right? So I have a good reputation bringing in the best in each field. And we brought in the absolute number one on every single segment. There's nobody better than them who show up in their segment in the world. They're the absolute top. We brought them in the film, which was not easy. Many of them have never done anything ever before. And David Babel, he's never has, and he was passing away, and he chose to do this, and that was quite the sales pitch.
Yeah, Doug, I think it's a great background on there. I think your exposure to the market, understanding where these products do have a fit, even after maybe being a critic for a long time. And then now having this opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the biggest and brightest minds in America on retirement planning. I think for just personal reasons, I'm interested to hear, like, what were these conversations like? And were there any specific experiences or conversations you had that were eye-opening as you talked to these people?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you start talking to people, you hear this, you think it's exception. But what was shocking to me that is all of them have an annuity. So these are people, generally speaking, we're talking about professors who have actual pensions, right? And they have some version of one. They have the equivalent of a 403B or whatever they had. And they chose to annuitize, generally speaking, all of it or most of it. They all have an annuity. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And Olivia Mitchell's explaining what the actual true stats are, which it's pretty funny because some people wanted to criticize the film. And but these people actually did the research their entire life. Like they've got all published peer-reviewed articles that they've done on this space. So you can't debate the film. And I don't care if someone buys something or not after. I'm trying to just communicate a real message here. And so what was eye-opening to me was that. And the other thing that was eye-opening to me is how absolutely screwed we are as a country right now. This is everything this movie says will happen, and it's very calm. It's a very nice expose. It's very soft. It's not meant to freak people out and get them just running out and start just plowing up their grass and planting crops and they're done. This is going to be methodical. What should they do in this situation? And it drives them to have a conversation with you, which they need to have. But the pension problem is so real that, the baby boomer dilemma actually categorizes. It's a $100 trillion problem. Okay, so our country brings in 20 of those a year, right? 20 trillion. So how do you plug a hole of 100 trillion with 20 trillion a year gross? Like, you can't do that. Like, you wouldn't qualify to buy a house if you're trying to buy that and this is what you make. Like, it doesn't work. The math's not there. So it's a major issue, and Social Security will have a haircut. And, my next film that's about ready to come out, I have an economist who explains that, they're the guys that wrote Prosperity in the Age of Decline. I'm looking at their book on the shelf. And they projected since 2013 that we're going to have an actual depression from 2030 to 2036. A real depression. It's because of the haircut in Social Security. And by the way, in 2003, they called on that there's going to be this 2007 and 8 recession. I mean, they did that in 2003. And it wasn't like they just kind of said it in an article. They prepare Fortune 500 and 100 companies for it. Like, it's all documented. And so that's coming. And so the films will show that there's this couple, this art, actor couple, and it just kind of shows their story. And they end up having a haircut of 30 or 40% of the retirement, and then they can't retire now because of that's what it shows. They had all their money at risk. They had other options. And it's pretty strong. It's pretty strong. And people go, oh, and I'm just saying it's not strong enough. I did that just so no one have but it's going to be bigger than that. But it absolutely will be that. And the cuts in Social Security absolutely going to happen. And that pension fund from CalPERS, they cannot pay it. They cannot pay it. They're talking about in California doing payments off to former descendants of possible slavery with money that they should be filling in those pension holes. Like they don't have the money to do it. So it will happen. So
Well, I
when
think
you're meeting with people, this is a major deal that I'm very passionate about. You know, we do these exposés, and ever since we had Upton Sinclair, who did The Jungle about the meatpacking problem in 1906 in Chicago, to present, you know, they try to create the FDA to protect Americans. The only truth that you get is from expose documentary or expose small-time journalist. You don't get it from the main establishment. I challenge you to come up with any exception of it. And if you say, oh, well, wait a second, Watergate. Yeah, that was a Republican president by a Democrat paper, right? You do not have major media ever covering that. That's just not how it works. And so this is the big notification for baby boomers right now. This is it. And if you want to actually explain it to them in a way that they will absolutely get it, this is the film. It's rated PG by the Motion Picture Association. There's 99% of documentaries are not rated. The reason why is because those are corporate infomercials. They really are. This one's not. It was crowdfunded. I didn't even know who the people were who put in some money until after the film was done for the credits at the end. So this is the real thing, and this was what everybody would understand if we didn't have so financial ties to all our media sources. We would understand that annuities are like this. We'd understand the 401k is great like this, but not like this. You know, we would understand our pension problem. We would understand Social Security. So anyway, that's what it is, and I really appreciate the industry getting behind this. And I am the only filmmaker going to market this way. I have a third movie ready to come out, and we just do theaters.
I think
So
watching
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think so, Doug. I mean, I've never seen an opportunity like this, and I think we'll talk here a little bit about what the public response has been like, and I think that's proof positive the fact that it's something people are concerned about. I think if there's one thing in the movie that's really powerful to me, Moshe Milevsky, who's one of my favorite economists, I love him. He just seems like such an awesome dude in real life as well. But he actually says economists disagree about everything. They disagree about inflation. They disagree about the national debt. They disagree about entitlement programs. That every single time there's an economist conference, everyone gets together and just disagrees on something. He said one of the only things that there's almost unanimous consensus among economists about is the fact that there's a big place for annuities and retirement planning. He said the fact that that's the one thing that kind of pulls this diverse group of people, independent people with big ideas together, is this idea of like lifetime income. And I think being able to have like that sort of message from someone with that credential and that experience in front of your group without you saying this isn't me based on my reputation. This is somebody who's credentialed and well-known and a PhD, I think at Wharton or wherever he's at. I think that's such a huge power, but that kind of transitions into what I want you to talk about next here, Doug, which is just, you had the opportunity to do these for a few months. Obviously, Steep, we're just getting up and running, promoting these events. I think the bigger wave of campaigns and use of this movie is still in front of us. We just now have released this. But you've had the ability over the last few months to see advisors actually use this in action. I know you've actually attended movies on your own. Can you tell a little bit about some of the success stories you've seen, either from a client experience or from advisors who've really been able to turn this into a powerful program for them?
Yeah, there's two main experiences that I find interesting. And that is there's the theater experience that happens when you have a group of people together. That this won't happen if you have 10 people in a 150 seat theater. But you get, like we're talking about, you get 60, 75% of those seats filled. Then when somebody gasps, other people are gasping, and your gasp has been reinforced and your laugh was reinforced, and you got this group think started to happen, and then you start crying and freaking out, and everyone else is doing it, and there's this energy. It's in the whole room. And what ends up happening is you go from A to B all the way. Like, and you're going to talk to Andrew, but there are people who will leave that theater who've decided their value change. Before, maybe when people talk about what do you want to guarantee, they would look at the minimum, the very like poverty level minimum, and then they're like, well, wait a second. Why would I do that? No, I want to have like most of my life guaranteed. That's what and then I can swing for the fences on this, but I don't want to risk that. And so everything changes, their value structure changes. And a lot of that, it's not by accident. Okay, so I neuromarketing background, the whole decade I was talking about. It's designed fairly well that way to get that kind of response. But what the big shock was for me, and I think for most financial advisors, I mean, when they call me, they're all excited. They all say it's the same conversation. Everyone, hey, I just got to tell you, there's this guy who had like $4 million or $6 million or $2 million. They're always these big ones. And I've already had contact with him, and he never let me have access to this. They would give me this little bit, and that was it. I would never have anything else. They watched the movie, and they're like, now I want to move this over. And they're can you do it by this date? Like, there's not like a process. And what everyone's surprised to see is the highly educated and huge net worth person, when they watch this movie, engineer or emotional, they're there. That is what this movie does. And the whole entire time you're sitting in your seat, you're not saying a word. And so, it can't be replicated, what we've done. I mean, this is a one-take wonder here. And so there's this opportunity to do that. And I think that's it. It's just the larger client can happen with this film, where up till now, they were out of reach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm seeing Andrew nod his head. I think you're one of the people too that called, but I get that call all the time. I love it. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, really, I don't care. I mean, who comes to him? But that is a unique thing, and I know that's for financial advisors. That obviously, you can make money doing this. I mean, that's one of the targets. People who probably up till now were out of reach, or there'd be like a once or twice of a career kind of a thing. That could be pretty run of the mill per theater experience.
Yeah.
It
No,
really can.
I know Andrew's going to share some of his numbers here, but kind of an interesting story and then kind of an anecdote here. But when Doug and I first talked, I said, Doug, I love the movie. I'd love to be a part of it. What can I do to help promote it? And Doug said, hey, let's do an interview. We'll put it on my website. We'll talk about SEEP and how that works. And I said, I don't know if you remember this conversation, Doug. I said, hey, let's push pause on that for a minute. Let's run some actual events. Let's find some people who we can recruit to do these events.
I think this was March, just so everybody knows. Jonathan's telling the absolute truth. It all happened because Andrew called me. He says, Doug, you have some really good mail solutions who dabble in the Facebook world, but you need to have an actual real Facebook digital marketing solution. And he recommended you. And you went, found your own folks, did your own tests, and we've been working, and this has been going on for a quarter of the year before it comes out, where everyone else just kind of took something and ran. You guys have been at this, and so the numbers you're about ready to share, I'm just telling everybody, this is very real. It's very proven out. There's no who knows, maybe, a lot of confidence with what's going on. And to prep that, I will say this. It's been interesting because I have some advisors who are getting 150 people coming out on average every theater experience they've done. They've done 9 of them, and that's what they get. Then I have other people who would die for 20 and they can't even get anything happening in their life. And you're like, that's the same movie. What is going on? And in the end, it's what's behind that curtain for your marketing. Yeah. And in a lot of cases, they're still using the same medium, Facebook, and they're spending about the same amount of money from what you're charging and what those people are charging, but the results are just insanely different. So it does matter who you use for marketing. And so the reason I'm doing this conversation is your results that you've got with these first advisors that you said, oh, we're going to go through this process and see what happens.
Yeah. And that's always our goal. I just want to be transparent, tell people this is actual results. It's easy for me to talk about what we could do, what we might be able to accomplish. I think talking about actual results is a really big part of this. But, kind of in hand with the results conversation, Andrew, you've been nodding your head over there, and I see you kind of echoing some of what Doug said. I'd love to kind of get some of your feedback on this. I'd love to hear, maybe just for everyone on this call here, just a little bit about you and your practice and understand, maybe a little bit about you before we get into exactly how the movie has gone for you as well.
Sure. Well, so it's great to be here. I had the privilege of being one of those that crowdfunded the movie. I'm in the credits. That was a miracle in and of itself. But I saw the vision that Doug laid out back last year, and I absolutely had to be a part of it because I knew how powerful media is. Um, and so, I've been doing this for a while. I've only been doing the annuity space primarily. So I'm an insurance only advisor. We do primarily annuities and IULs, but 90% of it is annuities. And I've been doing this since 2000. So I had an IMO in the mortgage protection final expense space before this. That sucked. And so I decided I'm going to do my own thing and just be my own advisor and not have to have a bunch of, 200 agents where I'm basically a glorified babysitter. So I just focused on being, the best of the best in my field. And 2020 hit. It was very difficult. I had to do everything by Zoom. So 2020 was pretty slow. But I made some very important strategic decisions that turned out to be the right ones. And, I've got 5 employees. I just moved into this office 7 months ago. I'm already looking for a bigger one. We're starting to do 4 different marketing events per month, and 2 of them are this movie. And so it's been an unbelievable ride. We've had a lot of growth month over month. I just hired my first sub advisor, and but I'm really grateful to be a part of this movie. And I've got all my numbers here, but I would encourage everybody to really listen to the rest of this meeting closely, because this one thing has helped my practice out drastically. I was one of the people who had the multi-million-dollar client who gave me, a little pittance, a little 500,000 here, 250 there, but they didn't give me access to the millions until the movie. And so I'll talk about some strategies there, but it's been an unbelievable ride and I'm glad to be here.
I'm not a business coach, but I feel like starting a new business, I guess if you started early in 2020, you wouldn't have known, but starting a business during COVID is one of the craziest things. And the fact that you've not just grown and survived, but really thrived during this period is impressive to me. But Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about just kind of what your experience has been doing the movie? I mean, I'd love to hear anything you're willing to share about, how many of these events you've done, what you estimate your costs are, and then any production related numbers you'd be willing to share as well.
Sure. So I am going into my 8th one on the 5th. So we're doing it on July 5th, which is a little bit of a gamble, but we have had outstanding results. I will say my wife used to do these for us. She's done all of our marketing. She's got a marketing background, done all of our Facebook ads, and really crushed it. But what Steep, this is what they do for a living. And so I let Steep run it. I think 2 times ago they exceeded our previous results, and so I'm like, well, maybe I'll just have Steep do this every time. And and I'm paying more for it. So I'm paying more to do that, but it's worth it. The results are there. So I've got 6 that I've measured, and from those 6, I have closed, and this is really important. Um, so the marketing sequence is really, really important. And what I mean by that is, if all you're going to do is movie theater events, you are going to have a measure of success. Okay. And it's actually pretty good. But you want to incorporate the movie into whatever else you're doing. That's the key. And I've got the movie only results and then incorporated with what I'm also doing. So I have done, from the 6 that I've measured, from those 6, from leads who came to the movie first. Okay. So they didn't come to a dinner seminar and then movie, which we do. They didn't come from the radio to the movie, which we do. They didn't come from a webinar to the movie, which we do. They came to the movie first. The funnel that they came into our ecosystem was through the movie. I have closed out of 6 events, 6 clients, okay, for a total of 2,116,000. And again, these are leads who came to the movie first. I did close one. It's 7 clients because I closed one IUL deal for 17,000 in target. My total commission was 171,000 from those 7 clients, and I spent 30,000 on those 6 movie theater events. I have a 5.7x ROI on only the leads who came to a movie event first. Now, if you
Well, if that's as
factor in
good
my
as it got,
lead,
that'd be okay, right?
what's that?
It wouldn't be a bad ROI if that's as good as it got, right?
If all you did was movie theater events, you're 5x in your ROI. Now, again, I know I'm a pretty decent closer. I know that I've got a really good system. I've got an unbelievable team. But even if you 3.5x your ROI, if you could put $1 into a slot machine and get $3.5 out, how many dollars are you going to put into the slot machine? All of them, right? You're going to put all of them in there. So I've gotten a 5.7x ROI on the leads who came to a movie event first. Now I've gotten a much bigger ROI on the whole thing when you take your list, which I know a lot of people have lists, they may be only 100 or 200 long. You take your seminars, you take your webinars, and you get them to also go to another event. Some clients need multiple events. So I've placed 10 million since December. And I calculated a couple months ago, this was before the last one, that overall from that 30,000 that I've spent, I have done a 30x ROI including everything. Now, I hate saying 30x because it seems so pie in the sky unrealistic, and I hate that stuff because people embellish, and that's the last thing people need is to be lied to. Because if I lie and say, oh my gosh, I had 50 people show up and 40 of them booked appointments and I closed 30 of them, I'm setting everyone else up for unrealistic expectations. You'll do it once, you'll get burned according to what you think based upon my expectations that I set out, and then you'll never do it again. And then the churn rate's so bad that Doug decides I'm just going to, put it on the shelf or, put it to iTunes, or we're not going to do this. If the rising tide, if everybody's winning because we set realistic expectations, then you'll be happy, right? And you'll do it again. And so I'll go through that, but I don't know if you have another question or not, but I've got those numbers as well on how many events and different things like that. If you'd like
Yeah,
to get into.
I'd love you to share that here next. I will kind of steal a slide that I'll share with you here in a little bit, which is just the fact that, at Steep, what we're really good at is new lead generation. We're a traffic company. Like, we are really good at getting leads that currently aren't in your ecosystem and getting them to show up to an event and get their information. That's kind of our primary focus. I also know I talked to a guy a few months ago who wrote like $60 million of production just from his list last year. Like, that's an absurd number, right? It's a ridiculous number. I know that there's like a lot of opportunity in list building. And so even though that's not necessarily the primary focus of our company, we've actually integrated that as part of our program. So if you've got a list, if you've got, people who are in your sales cycle, people who showed up to dinner seminars, didn't schedule appointments, didn't actually close, any of those people in your pipeline, we don't view that as a threat to paid traffic. We look at it at that as a compliment to it. So that's actually something we built into our program. We make it super easy. We actually provide you all the tools, make it a turnkey process to engage your list. So I'll share that here in a little bit, just kind of how our part of it works. But Andrew, I'd love for you to share, like, having engaged your list, those people that are in your pipeline, what have the results been like from that?
Man, they've been unbelievable, dude. I mean, it's if you can just get them to sit down and watch the stinking movie, okay, they're going to convert. I mean, right now at this present time, we were doing one dinner seminar, one movie theater event per month. Well, I just hired an advisor. We got to ramp up our marketing. Now we're doing dinner seminar, movie, dinner seminar, movie, dinner seminar, movie. And so if people come into the movie, the people who book appointments will invite them to the dinner seminar, and vice versa. The people come into the dinner seminar first, we'll invite them to the movie second. So if they don't book an appointment on the first go around, doesn't mean that they won't book an appointment after the movie, or vice versa. The key is some people are so jaded and skeptical, they need multiple touches. And this movie thing, man, is such a great way. It's a non-threatening way, it's entertaining, and it's educational. And by the time they watch all of it, I mean, it's really, really profound the difference that it makes when it comes time to go for the close and go for the app, because they're already in their mind. They've already agreed this is a good idea, right? This is what the experts think. I probably should move forward. Now, I will say this: I've already committed to Steep to do 9 more movie theater events for the rest of the year. So we've got 9 movie theater events,
I thought we said
12 dinner seminars booked. And we also have these different referral programs and client appreciation events. I'm doing 24 events for the next 6 months. And literally just about half of them are in the movie theater. And here's the thing. I'm in an area where my office is where it's pretty affluent and therefore it's expensive to market. So what I started doing is I would do one in the Franklin Brentwood area, and then the next one I'll do in Nashville to let Franklin Brentwood reset. So there's not ad fatigue. And it is going so well. I mean, this is our first one that we're running on the 5th. We have like 100 and some registrations already. It's unreal. I'm wearing out Kelly, my appointment setter. She's just nonstop hammering the phones, And so I'm really excited about that because I feel like we're gonna have a lot of results there. I will say this though, this is worth mentioning. So it's a lot like a dinner seminar as far as the show up rate, at least in my experience. Okay, now I could be wrong, but at least in my experience, and I've done 8 of these now. Well, it'll be 8 on the 5th. If you get 100 registrations and you call through them, which you have to call through them, you're going to probably confirm 60, maybe 70. Okay. From the 60 to 70 confirmed, you're going to get between 50 to 60% to show up. It is what it is. Okay. People last minute get busy, whatever. I don't know why, but if you have 70 people who confirm out of the 100, you'll get 35 to 40 to show up. And from the 35 to 40 to show up, you'll get anywhere between 10 and 20% to book an appointment. That's been my experience. Okay. So we get 4 to 6 appointments per movie theater event, and we get 1 to 2 clients per movie theater event. Now, some of them are brand new. Some of them came in from another method of marketing, but it all works out in the end. And I will say this, we did have 2 events where we did not get one client who came in through the funnel, but we did get clients who came in from other ways that we got to show up to the movie. So you have to use your list to get them there. You supplement. So, but see, if I would have quit because I looked at, I didn't get a new client that time, I would have missed out on so much money. It's repetitive. You got the numbers always work themselves out. It is a numbers game, but that's just worth, being mentioned. Like, you're not going to get 30 to 40 quality appointments in my opinion. I just don't think you're going to get that. And if you are, you're a magician. You've got some sort of like weird superpower. In our experience, we get 4 to 6 appointments, and we usually close 1 to 2 people per event. And we 5x our upfront ROI, and we do way better on the back end.
Yeah.
So that's my experience.
I mean, that was one of the questions I had prepared, Andrew, is just setting good expectations. I'll go through kind of how our pricing works, but we factor all this into it. And our goal is not to give these hyperbolic numbers and we'll get 70 billion people signed up for your event. Our goal is to tell you, like, this is realistic. And if we surpass that, that's only a cherry on top. My goal, the same way that I told Doug, hey, let us test this and get real results before we push play. I'm just trying to set realistic expectations. So we'll get into that. I think it's a really important thing to, to point out here.
Can I just interject one thing? Andrew, on your 1 to 2 actual clients per event, those were much smaller numbers than what you're getting registered now with Steep. Is that correct?
That's true. That was with only one Steep. That was with Jess. So if you come back and we do a recap, a month or 2 down the road, it may be higher than that. So, and that was also
Brentwood process. And the most recent event was June 16th. So we're only about 15 days away from that. There's stuff in the pipeline and things for sure. Andrew, in case you want a live update on the performance for your active campaign, you or Kelly might slap me for telling you this, but I've actually got a tab open here with your roster. We have 102 families signed up for that. That's a little bit over 190 people signed up. So if you take your numbers that you said, 60% confirm, 56% show from there, like you're looking at having probably one of the bigger events that you've ever had before.
That's true. And I even got a bigger room. I was only doing 55 seat theaters for that very reason that Doug talked about. You got to have the right vibe in there. And it's weird if there's, 10 people in a 100, seat theater. I did bump that up for this one. I did 88 seats because I'm like, dude, we're gonna get a lot more people. So if we double our numbers from this one, which is looking like we might, well, we may double the results, which sounds great to me. I'm down. So yeah,
for sure. Doug and Andrew, I appreciate you guys sharing your insight on this. I'd love to spend as much time or as little time as people would like continuing to dig into your brain. What we're going to do for the rest of the presentation here is I'm going to talk a little bit about the marketing system and how it works. And then Doug and Andrew have been super gracious with their time and have agreed to stay on for question and answer at the end here. So as that stuff happens, just put that stuff in the chat and I will answer every question in there before the webinar is over. So go ahead and just put those into the chat, any questions you've got, and we'll make sure that we cover that in our Q&A. But I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. And, this is such good information. I hate to cut it short, but I also want to get through, all the content that I've got prepared here. So, like we talked about with Doug, we've been talking to Doug since March. We really have spent the last couple of months getting our systems and branding and programs and everything put together, running some actual tests for advisors. I picked 3 of the most recent ones that I put on here. The Nashville event, this is Andrew's event, had 139 people. That was the June event. We're already past that after only just about a week of advertising for this new event. Did another one up in Baltimore, advertised it for about 5 days, got to 151. The advisor told us to shut it off. I know this advisor specifically has had third appointments with 3 different people, one at $1.5 million, one at $2 million, and one at $2.5 million. So that story that Doug told earlier, where you're actually pulling in higher net worth, higher educated people through the movie event, is 100% proven to be true in my experience here. And then another one down in Austin, a little bit of a smaller theater, is kind of one of those cool brewery, brew pub type of events, had 118 people sign up and excellent feedback from the advisors there as well. So just to show you, like, this isn't just hearsay or storytelling, this is actual real results. So I'll go through just a real quick overview of how our marketing process works, go through the ads, how we actually run traffic. I'll go through how we represent your brand and get people signed up. I'll kind of cover the confirmation process that we do on behalf of you. And then a couple other things with our ticketing and postcard system, as well as the email campaign that I mentioned. So quick thing on Facebook ads. Primarily our traffic source is Facebook. Facebook is this network of apps now, and it's WhatsApp and it's Instagram. It's all these different apps, even display on third-party web pages, but 90% of our conversions and traffic go to Facebook. It allows us to target your ideal prospects. Most people over 55 spend about an hour or more every day on Facebook. For a lot of people over 55, like, this is the baby boomer dilemma movie, and this is the baby boomer generation we're talking about. For a lot of these people, Facebook is the internet. It's where they connect with their families, where they get their news. They spend a lot of time on there. So it allows us to drive a ton of traffic directly to the audience that we're targeting. We do optimize all of our traffic for Facebook and Instagram. And so, for Facebook, Instagram, and also mobile and desktop. So it's custom fit for exactly whatever screen it's showing up on. And then one of the things that we did is we worked with Doug. Doug actually took pieces of the trailer and cut specific ads that we're the only ones who've been using those ads. And so it allows us to take actual footage from the movie. We actually created shortened trailers, had those approved by the Motion Picture Association. And that's some of the media that we're using for your campaigns. And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen such excellent results, is because we're trying to have really, really close brand affiliation and really be tightly aligned here with our stuff. But so that's generally how the traffic side of it works. If someone sees the ad, click on it and they'll go to a registration page. You can see examples on this page, kind of what those landing pages look like. Now, one of the things that we really believe in here at Steep is that we take a highly customized approach to marketing. The easy thing to do in marketing is to build a page, get adequate conversions, and then duplicate it 25 times and then say, here's your page, here's your page, here's your page, here's your page. It's not the approach we take, because we believe that the number one reason you do events is to build rapport with people. You build rapport with people when they know, like, and trust you. It's really hard to get to know, like, and trust somebody who you don't know who they are. And so we take the time to build a customized page that features you and your brand, your photo, your bio, any credentials you have, your contact information, put your disclosures, make sure it's compliant. We take a very highly customized approach to this entire process, because we know if you're going to get results like what Andrew's talking about, if you're going to get people to actually show up and then set appointments with you, you have to start early on in this process building rapport with them. So one of the things we do on here One of the other unique things about the way we take registrations for events, a lot of times you'll go to landing pages and they'll require a little bit of information, like give us your name, your email address. And then anything else on there is just kind of like nice to have information. All of the fields that we require are that somebody signs up with are required. So you'll get a big profile. You'll get their first name, last name, email, phone number, the date they're attending, the number of people in their party. And for about 80% of people, we actually get a full mailing address as well. So you can look at what Andrew said earlier about attendance rate as a positive or a negative. You can look at it as a negative and say, ah, gosh, I wish I had more than 50% of my people sign up. Or you can look at it as a positive of like, holy crap, I have like a very extensive buyer profile where I can email people, I can call people, I can text people, I can even send physical mail to them. So when you're looking 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, trying to figure out who's in my pipeline, the ability that for us to capture all this information and deliver to you a really comprehensive lead profile just gives you way more ammunition in the future to reach out to these prospects. Another thing we do with our landing pages is we do A/B split tests on every single campaign. What that means is we actually design 2 totally different landing pages. And we have version 1, version 2. The content's more or less the same, the layout's different. And it's amazing the difference in results sometimes that we'll see with these split tests. If you don't have a marketing company that's partnering with you and actually doing the hard work, building 2 or 3 times more assets that we're actually going to end up using, then you're really leaving a lot of stuff on the table. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we've been able to achieve the results that I just showed you. So what our traffic team does, we'll launch ads, let it run for 24, 48 hours. We'll look at the pages, we'll look at the ads, we'll find the ones that are giving us the best conversion rate, then we'll shut off the rest and then really go all in on those high converting assets. It's one of the ways we're able to really optimize the traffic to your event. Once somebody signs up, you're going to get notified by an email, and we'll also provide a roster that you'll get in real time. We don't play any games with you about holding that registration data and giving it to you afterward. You get all that in real time, and you're welcome to reach out to those people any way you want. On our end, what we're going to do to confirm those people is we'll send emails to them. We'll send them email right away, 10 days before, 5 days before, the day before, and the day of. Every single one of those is customized to your event, includes your name, your company name, contact information, all the information about the event. We'll also send text messages the day they register and the day of the event. Those all include links to a Google Maps. They can just tap that on their phone and get directions to the theater. And then one of the cool things that we've done, I've actually got a screenshot of this that I'll share with you here in a little bit, is we actually send a confirmation postcard to everyone who signs up. One of the things that aids attendance rate is trying to take something from an online virtual event and move it into the physical world. So we find that by giving somebody a postcard with actual tickets, it's customized for them, we make that transition. This is something that's almost like a reminder. They could set it on their kitchen table or put it on a magnet on the fridge and just kind of remember to attend the event. So that's another thing we do that I don't think any digital marketing company is doing. And then the third part of this, a final part of this, is the phone calls. We can do the phone calls for you if you'd like. Your team can do those phone calls. And that's the final part of the confirmation process. So if you want to look at that on a timeline, here's kind of a look at like all the different touch points we have, just making sure that we keep people's interest level high between the time they sign up and the time the event actually occurs. So here's an example of what the confirmation postcard looks like. You can see on there a quote from the Forbes article that featured the Baby Boomer Dilemma film, helping to add credibility to you, your firm, and the event. And you also see the post or the images on there with the tickets. You can see on there where it says theater name, day, time of week. It'll actually be customized. Every single postcard gets printed one off directly. The way the system works is we have about 8 print shops all across the country that have an agreement with us that they'll print a single customized postcard if we send them a job for one postcard. So when you have an event, we get a registration, we find the closest print shop, we print a single customized postcard. It gets a first-class stamp on it, printed and mailed out the same day. Typically hits mailboxes within 1 to 2 business days. So it's just another thing we're doing to kind of help with that confirmation process to get more people signed up. The final thing I'll talk about here as part of the process is the email marketing campaign. Andrew mentioned he's gotten almost 2 or 3 times more business from, aside from just the leads that come in through like brand new traffic from his existing list. And so what we're trying to do is empower you to be able to do that. And we do that by creating almost like a duplicate campaign for you that's intended only to be used with your list. We'll create a brand new page that's only for emails, and we'll give you a unique link so we can track the progress of your campaign on there. We also have written 2 emails that are invitation emails that you can copy and paste and send out to your list. Just take the link that we give you, put in that email, send it out, and you'll get a supplement of leads from that don't cost you anything. This is an option. You don't have to do this on your campaign. You can if you choose to. It's a $150 add-on, which I think is a very good value for the amount of work it takes to create these customized campaigns. And also is, the way I look at that is that every single lead that comes in from your email is a lead you didn't pay for one. And probably those people have had more touch points, but a little bit higher quality lead, somebody who's really engaged with you as well. So something you can add on to your campaign if you choose to do so. So in terms of pricing these events, if you're accustomed to looking at seat pricing, what we're looking at here is a little bit different, and I'll explain to you the differences here. It really starts with choosing your target number of attendees. We've got this priced on there at 25, 40, and 60. Those are the target number of people actually showing up in the theater that you want. Now, to be 100% transparent, the event that Andrew purchased would be priced kind of like that medium event. And we've obviously got way more than the registrations that you see on the screen here. So there's the potential that we'll go over our numbers, but again, in the spirit of transparency, our goal is to be set good expectations on exactly kind of like the minimum expectations for performance. So 25, 40, and 60 are your three different sizes. Now, we're factoring in roughly a 30% attendance rate. Your attendance rate could be 20%. Your attendance rate could be 50%. A lot of that comes down to what your team's doing to confirm the registrations. But if we factor in a 30% attendance rate, our goal then is to basically 3x the target number of attendees for the registrants. So if you look at that middle column next to the target attendees, 25 target attendees, 3x that, 75 target registrations, and then so on and so forth for each of those different sizes. And then in the final column on the right, you see the flat rate price for those campaigns. Flat rate pricing means that you don't pay any more. I know digital marketing companies that will run a campaign, get you a bunch of leads, and then you're swiping your credit card every single time they go over that target. It's not how our stuff works. We believe that you should benefit from highly responsive campaigns. And so if we're able to get more than this, like we have with Andrew's campaigns, and honestly with every campaign we've run, then those leads are yours without any additional cost. Some of the things you get with your campaign is exclusive marketing territory, which I'll talk a little bit more about here in a minute. Of course, all of the digital marketing campaign that I showed you, email, text reminders, postcard confirmation, it's all included in here. There's nothing you have to pay for extra. The only thing that you could choose to do additionally is that $150 email add-on campaign, if that's something you choose to do. Totally up to you. A little touch point on territories here. We feel like it's our responsibility to make sure that we're not marketing on top of an area that's in a way that's going to diminish results for two people. Let's say Andrew's doing an event in Nashville, and then I come in, I say, hey, I want to do an event in Nashville right now too. Those two campaigns, all they're going to do is bid the algorithms up, our response rate's going to go down, our costs are going to go up, and nobody wins in that situation. So what we'll do is we'll define a specific area that we'll market for your campaign, and then we'll make a promise to you that we won't market any other campaign in that area at the same time your campaign happens. You actually have 30 days of ability to renew that territory after each campaign. So if you remain active, do this on a monthly basis, you can basically get total exclusivity in that market. If you choose to do what Andrew's doing and kind of get an A and a B market and bounce between those, we can work together and create a schedule for you. But if that's something you're interested in doing, I'll actually put an offer up here onto the side. If you're interested in looking at a territory for your area and you want to see what it looks like in your market, just click that button. You'll fill out a brief form, give us information about the area you're considering doing a movie event in. And what we'll do is we'll place a 7-day hold on that market, which means that you've basically got first rights of refusal during that 7 days to schedule a campaign and get that going. So just a quick overview on territories and how that works. So we are expecting to have a lot of demand for this program. We've never seen response rates for an event the way that we're seeing with these movies. And I think this will probably be one of the primary things that we're selling and talking to advisors about for the rest of the year. So if you are interested in that, this is not a scarcity play. This is not me blowing smoke. I just think if this is something you're wanting to implement, I would just go ahead and work on getting that territory lined up right now. Last thing that I want to do is just take some questions. Anybody who's got questions, we'll stick around and take them. This is kind of like the end to the formal webinar, and I know I've gone over time of what I've expected to share today. So if you've got lunch or you've got to run to another phone call, you're welcome to jump off here. But I see that we actually have more people on the line right now than we had when we started the webinar. So it sounds like there's a lot of interest and engagement here. What we're going to do is stick around for the next, however long it takes to just answer any questions that we have here. So I'm going to go through the chat over here and just see what sort of questions we've gotten back. And the other thing is we've got a few guys on our team that are helping answer questions here. So, David, it looks like you've got a couple of your questions answered already. David's asking, do you do one event on a campaign, or do you have two different options on a Tuesday and a Thursday? Andrew, I know you've always done just one event, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you could speak to that.
I just do. I usually do Tuesdays or Thursdays, and this is the first. No, it's Tuesday the 5th. Yeah, so Tuesdays or Thursdays is when I usually do mine.
Yep. We found the same thing. I mean, movies are kind of an entertainment thing. It's a hybrid event between like education and entertainment. So it's unique in that sense. To be totally transparent, we have not done weekend events ourselves. I don't doubt that we would have a really good response rate just based off the conversion data that we're seeing with our other campaigns.
I actually have a lot of experience in this space on this one. I will tell you, it doesn't seem to matter a lot. It really doesn't. I've seen a lot of people do Friday nights, Saturday nights, the days. The theater will let you book anytime as long as there's not a blockbuster weekend for like, so when Batman came out, it was huge. Top Gun came out, you know, you may have run into you might get relegated to Tuesday and Thursday, and that's your only option anyway. So that's kind of what happens. There's a lot of people that'll do a Tuesday and a Saturday, or a Thursday and a Saturday. So they'll do two in that one week, and the one's kind of helping promote the other. I've seen all of that work. So I think it's going to be what you're prepared to actually, you know, pony up, and what you really want to do, and how much volume you can handle. But I've seen all those things play out fine for people. I'm not a huge fan of 10 in the morning on Saturday morning. I went to one of those. I was like, oh, what they're thinking. But anyway,
Yeah.
there still had people there, but it wasn't as good as it was Thursday night.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I think just from a mentality standpoint, people are a little bit more plugged into business related things during weekdays. Weekends are kind of casual. So
You'll pay less too. Typically, you're going to save yourself about $500 being Monday through Thursday than if you try to hit a weekend.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good point to consider as well. And just so you guys know too, on the movie marketing guide that I offered earlier, I'm also going to send a link out to that once the webinar is over. When you go on there, I've got a list of all the expected costs to pay at a theater, kind of the averages that we've seen. So as you're working through budgeting and trying to plan for this event, that's something we have in there as well. Andrew, question for you from David. He says, how does Andrew handle in-office appointment setting from the movie event? It sounds like, I'm sorry, this is from Chris. Chris says he's accustomed to doing dinner seminar events, accustomed to that kind of call to action close at the end of the seminar. How is that alike or unlike what you're doing at a movie event?
It's very similar. I mean, we give them a folder with a bunch of stuff. You want to wow them. You want to give them, you know, it's the whole jab, 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 right hook idea. Give, ask. So we give them lots of stuff. We give them a $15 gift card, a super nice folder with all kinds of cool little things they can read, and very nice. But there's one thing that we need back from them, and that's the response sheet. And that's how we write it off. Otherwise, it looks like I'm taking my kids to see Sonic the Hedgehog 50 times and run it through the business, right? Trying to write it off. So this is how we're able, through a legal means, to justify and prove that we're doing a marketing event. And on that response sheet, which we will pick up at the end, there's an opportunity to book an appointment. And so I explain before the movie that at the end, I need 5 minutes of your time. I'm going to give you 2 gifts at the end. And then once the movie's done, I come back up. I talk a little bit about David Babel. I talk about what we do at our firm, how we may be able to help you, whether you need a second opinion, a fee analysis, you want to talk about safe money products, you want to talk about income planning. And then I show them, hey, at the bottom of your response sheet, Kelly and Darmon, and then they raise their hand, are going to pick this up from you as soon as you walk out of the theater. There's an opportunity to book an appointment at our firm over the next couple of days. We reserve the next couple of days just for you guys. We do a lot of marketing events. Don't procrastinate. The best time to plant a tree was when 20 years ago. Second, the whole kit and caboodle. You guys all know the routine. But I give them a copy of my book, and then I give them a copy of Doug's movie, the little DVD flyer that they can watch virtually. And then we give them an opportunity to book an appointment. I tell them Kelly's going to call you tomorrow because I know 100% of you guys don't have your calendar in front of you. So if you get home and you're like, shoot, I've got yoga that morning that I said I was available, or I've got breakfast with the girls or whatever, it's totally fine. When Kelly calls you tomorrow, we can reschedule, right? So we pick it, we go outside and then literally it's 5 minutes of chaos, crazy, right? And we're collecting response sheets and talking and trying to make connection, and that's it. And then Kelly calls and the following day and books the appointments, and that's pretty much it. One thing I will say that you need to do differently than a dinner seminar. With my dinner seminar, I don't, I'm not kissing babies and shaking hands in the beginning. I show up like Elvis and go right on and perform, right? I have my team take care of all the meet and greet. With a movie, that's not the case, because with a dinner seminar, you got 45 minutes for them to get to know you, for them to like you, to see your charisma. With a movie, you don't have that much time, so you need to be there up front, talking to people, shaking hands, connecting, etc. That's really important, and you need to do it at the end as well. Try to talk to as many people as you can, because the more people you talk to and create a connection with, the higher likelihood of them booking an appointment.
Yeah, that's awesome feedback. And one thing I'll say as well, Doug has an awesome website for the movie. If you go to boomermovie.com, you can learn about it. That's where you actually purchase the license to show the movie, all that stuff. This webinar recording will be on that as well. But Andrew actually did about an hour-long interview with Doug where he went a little bit more in detail in his process for checking people in, how he sets up the room, what he says initially, things with working with the theaters, closing appointments. So if you're wanting to get more info into what Andrew was sharing just now and kind of dig deeper, that'd be a really good resource. If you just go to boomermovie.com and click the button at the top that says resources, scroll down till you see Andrew's handsome face, and there's another coaching video on that will be helpful. David's asking, is postage for the postcards extra? The answer is no. We probably should. With the response rate, we're getting charged more for that, but that's just included in the cost of the campaign. Randy is asking how long the movie is. Doug, do you want
85 minutes?
85 minutes, so a little over an hour and a half.
A little less, 5 minutes less than an hour and a half.
Okay, cool. My mental math's really strong, you can tell. Houston says, how do you handle qualifying the leads? I'll give you my 2 cents on this. Then Andrew, I'd like to hear your feedback as well. I think, Houston, what I've learned about seminar marketing is that if you have the right message and you position yourself correctly, that's going to take care of about 90% of it. I think when you are that guy who's like, everybody needs to set an appointment, and whether you have $10 or $20 million, you got to come meet with me, you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're going to end up spending a lot of time with those people whose only assets are Social Security or maybe disability, something like that. I think if you really position yourself as a wealth management firm that helps people plan for retirement using tools like what you learned about tonight, then you're doing a good job of like being the correct side of the magnet. But this is the thing people forget about magnets. Magnets have a plus on them and they have a minus on the other side. The plus side pulls things towards them. The minus side pushes things away. So I think it's important in your positioning to take that stance, make it clear to people who you're a good fit for. And I don't think that you'll have a lot of issues with underqualified people. But Andrew, if you have additional feedback on qualification and stuff, I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I agree with Jonathan. I mean, on our response sheets, we have a little section where we ask them, how much investable assets do you have besides real estate? So 0 to 200, 200 to 500, 500 to a million, or a million plus. So that gives us a pretty good idea on where they're at. But even still, I will usually give them an hour of my time if they're interested in just, we do qualify for dinner seminar rents because we're paying a lot more per person. But for movie theater events, that's where the Facebook ads guy comes in, right? We tell them, hey, we want this certain, I mean, you guys do the ages perfect anyway, but we tell them, hey, this is the demographic, this is the age, you guys already do that. And that weeds out a lot of the looky-loos and the tire kickers. So you're going to have some, but it's just part of the game, man. It's just numbers. And you never know. That person who didn't buy because they didn't have any money, they may refer their parents or their brother or whatever, and they've got a massive amount of money that they want to invest. The referral is the best lead source you can possibly have. So figure out a way to turn that 0 into a referral source. Provide them value. They know that no one will give them the time of day, right? If they love the movie and they booked an appointment, figure out how to turn that into a referral source.
Yep, excellent. I love that. Dustin I'm sorry, David asks, repeat the part about filtering non-qualified peeps. I think one is, like Andrew mentioned, we're doing a good job on the front end trying to get the best quality traffic we possibly can. That's step number one. Step number two, I think when you're in the movie, it's just a positioning statement and just letting people understand who you are as a company. I think when you start talking about your credentials, what it is that you do, David, I know you're on the radio. When you talk about, hey, you've probably seen Money Matters on the radio. You probably heard about me. You're saying the right things to let people know, like, I'm a wealth manager that works with people that have assets. I think you're just subtly telling people this is for people that have money. So I don't know that you're going to have a huge issue with that based on what I've seen, David. A, you're in an awesome market, a really affluent market. But then B, I think, people kind of pick up on those cues and kind of just self-qualify themselves. So, cool. So talking about appointment setting, talking about filtering, and then cost per lead. David's asking what the cost per lead is for this versus dinner seminars. I said the math on your current campaign. This is not factoring in anything about attendance rate or appointment setting or actual business close, but purely from a lead gen standpoint, I mean, you paid $6,300 for a medium-sized campaign, and at today's numbers, we're less than halfway through the campaign. Your cost per lead is about $60. So, then that number will keep going down as we get more and more people signed up. That's per household, not per person. It'd be about half that if we did per person. But, Andrew, maybe you can give us a comparison on like, what is your lead cost comparison? Somebody who actually comes and sets an appointment with you for movies versus someone who comes from dinners.
Well, here's the way I don't track that. What I track is how much does it cost for me to have an appointment, sit in that chair. That's what I look at. And it's basically the same. It's about $1,000 per sit. So and this is why, and most people don't actually track that number, which is probably the most important because that's the result you're looking for. If I get someone right here in front of me, then it really comes down to, can I perform or not, right? Or can I help them? And that's the number you have to look at, $1,000, and that's for movie or dinner. It's about $1,000 per sit for me. That's for movie or for dinner. Now, I'll be interested to know with this bigger movie coming up what that will do. But in my experience, it's been about $1,000 per sit.
Cool. It's great feedback. Well, I think we've got through all of our questions. Andrew and Doug, I want to thank you guys again for spending your time with us. I know we're over considerably on what we had planned to do here. I think it's always a good thing when we go over, because I'm that guy on webinars where I'm like, we're doing 45 minutes, maybe 50 with questions, and that's it. I think when we go over and when we see the people hang around like we have on this webinar, it just proof positive that this is really good information. There's so much to cover. We didn't really even get into the nuances of like the theaters and how to set it up. There's a lot of other information you can go to. That's where our team could come in and kind of supplement for that. We've got a team of account managers here, Nathan, Alex, and Phil. These guys have been well-trained and have had experience actually executing campaigns like this already. So any questions you have like that, feel free to just call into our office. You see the number on the screen. You can also go to our website on the contact form. You can book a calendar appointment directly there. You can reach out to me directly. My email is just jonathan@seepdigital.com. And that'll be super helpful. So any questions you've got, please reach out to us. Take advantage of the guides. I will be sending an email out tomorrow about the free movie license that we're giving away, giving that to somebody who was on this webinar today. So check your email for that. But Doug and Andrew, again, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you spending your time with us here, and wish you all a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.